Coast. My name is Jared McCaulsin. I am CEO and co-founder of Van Do It Adventure Vans. Today, I'm going to be talking about Modular Campervans 101 and really talking through basically what that means, concepts behind it, how it helps you as a potential person looking to purchase a van, potentially looking at a company like Van Do It or competitors of ours, or also looking for that DIY build to do yourself. Just different avenues for all the different scenarios out there. And so I'm going to take about 30 minutes here to kind of talk through really what modularity means in a camper van, in the space, utilizing the space, all those different factors. And then I'm going to open it up to Q&A for, about the last probably 15 minutes, and really kind of help answer those questions. And so just a little bit about me. Like I said, Jared McCaulsin, CEO of Van Do It. I came back to the family business as 3 generations, and we started the brand Van Do It going on about 5 years ago. And prior to that, we did things like you see today and what we do. We've been doing it for a very long time. We come from the automotive. We come from sports shops. We come from just the outdoor world in general. We didn't just really do it. I mean, we supplied the goods to the industry for a very long time. And so and you can check out bios and things like that on our website. But particularly myself, I was the original designer behind the Van Do It build. The builds at which you see today was something that started with me, solely in a shop, but it grew into exactly what you see today. But I want to give credit to all the Van Do It owners out there that give amazing feedback to Van Do It. We have an amazing ambassador program that gives everyone the ability of speaking back to Van Do It. And that's the biggest thing that we look for in our customer base, is giving that feedback back to us. And actually it's promoted the modular abilities at which I'm going to talk about today. And so with that, we'll jump into Modularity 101. And so really talking about the concepts of what is modular in a camper van. What is modularity in a camper van? Well, it's a little bit like packing for a trip. If you've ever went on an airplane or just in a normal car, not van lifestyle, and you start to break down the discussion of, your suitcase can only fit so much stuff in it. You have a weight limit at which you can take. You have all these different things at which you have to try to determine. You have to try to figure out of, you have a 50-pound limit. What can you put in there? Well, if you think about it, modularity comes into the factor of your suitcase, because you can plug and play what you need for that trip. You don't have to take the whole kitchen and the sink. If you want a snack, you can grab a snack. If you want this, you can take that. Well, with your suitcase, you can grab, if you're going to the beach, you can grab the swimsuits, you can grab, a limited amount of socks because you're probably wearing sandals. You can grab the things you need, but you don't have to take your entire wardrobe. You don't have to take your entire closet. You don't have to take, large bottles of goods. You can take smaller bottles. Those are the type of things that when you think about modularity, you break it down to the simple matter of what it is. And it's basically breaking down the idea of the necessities. And specifically for, myself and designing, and I look at owners' needs. I look at people traveling and I say, what could work better for you? We always come back to how can we make it plug and play, and how can we make it work best for your needs, and then try to take care of the majority. Well, we take modularity to the max. We make everything modular. We make everywhere from your seats to your kitchen to your water system to your beds. We make it all modular to where you're not fixed in one location. Now, having said that, to have something modular, you have to start with something that gives you that flexibility, that security, and with Van Do It, we are 100% built on the Ford Transit. We build on mid roofs, high roofs, and extended links. And we've really built very, very strong foundations over the course of 700 plus vans in the last 5 years, of continually tweaking and making the foundation stronger to allow for that modularity. And that's the biggest thing. And that's where I reference, jumping on an airplane or traveling with a suitcase. Sometimes the modularity has to start with what you're using, and going on that airplane, going on that trip, it's that suitcase. Some people love hard case suitcases. Some people love, soft shell. Not many of us probably go backpacking, go do 3 days, 3 nights, whatever the case might be on a hiking trip and have a hard case, backpack, because it probably doesn't make sense for that kind of, hiking slash, call it travel. Right. But what you plug into that backpack might be the exact same, but the application is so different. Well, modularity is something that you really have to think about your needs. You really got to think about the bare bones of what your needs are. And as I talk to a lot of my employees all the time, I talk to them about priorities. Priorities can shift on an hourly basis. Well, what's the priority of what you need to fit in your camper van? What's the most critical component to you? And that's where the foundation starts with modularity. It's a matter of whenever you want to think about the things maybe you can't do yourself, maybe you don't want to do yourself, maybe it's where it's in the van is hardest to get to. We all have those, we call them dead spots, blind spots inside the van where you just can't fit something. It's a weird area that you can't fit, anything but a tube of socks. You can't, it's just whatever it might be. You try to figure out what works best in that location, and then you build around it. And so, with the concept of modularity, it adds so much more versatility, but also a little bit of frustration too, because you can move so many things. But that's where the plug and play piece comes together with what is the most highest priority things you need, and then you work around them. So, if we kind of break it down to standard needs in a camper van, one of the biggest needs is your power system. Where can you decide to put your power system in the vehicle that's in the worst place ever to put anything that you would want to take in and out? Whenever you're building a vehicle, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to look for, and in Van Do It's, we build in such a modular way. We even make our power system modular in the sense that, it always goes in the same location. It works with, your gross vehicle weight ratings, a front axle and rear axle. Our system is set not just to take care of what, I call the dead space above the wheel wells. Not just that, but also we do it for all of our certifications too. So we do a win-win with where we locate a lot of our components in our vehicles. But the number one thing is that we put what you don't need to worry about where it's hardest for you to get to. And so, that's power system for one. Power system is the one thing that you are not going to take in and out on a daily basis. You're not going to move it. It's going to be locked in, but also you don't need to get to it constantly. It's something that you don't need to worry about servicing, every day, every other day, months. Basically, you need to be able to get to a kill switch that's remote, but you don't need to worry about getting, to where it's at. And so with modularity, you want to take the hardest places in your van and put your fixed components in there. And that's where you start with, from my perspective, you start with the power system. You put it where it's hardest to get to, because you're not going to use that space yourself if it's open. And so the second part of it is so outside of, secondary to power system, what's the next topic? What's the next thing that I always need, where that I don't really need to get to? And I'd say your water system. It's something that if you're making your water storage removable, if you want to make it to where it's easy to winterize, it needs to be more readily available. You need to be able to get to it. You need to be able to do those things, but it's not necessarily something that you need to service constantly. And I think that's the key is when you're trying to figure out priorities, maybe it's what you don't need to touch as often is where you put your valuable space and you put your more modular pieces to the puzzle. For us, we do a removable water system. If you want, winterizing our system is by literally removing it if you want into your garage or another space. You can physically remove our water system to where winterizing a van do it is very simple. But for most people, they want to have that bigger water storage. They want the 20, 30, 40, 50 gallons. And that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of needs for that. But you position it though. You position that tank for one in dead space, and then two, you put it where you wouldn't put anything that you would want to get to on a daily basis. Once again, and so water is kind of that second big piece of the puzzle. So you have power system and water that you use to really hopefully fill up those dead spaces in your van build, or truck build, or camper builds, whatever you're looking at doing. Those are the two components I always start with and say we need to put these systems in the hardest to get to places, because you don't need to get to them all the time. And also, we got to do the best job to conserve space so that they don't take up too much of other space. And so talking through, modularity from the perspective of now, ask me, Jared, so you filled the wheel well spaces, you filled the back sides. For Van Do It, we have a gear slide that pulls out for anything you'd like. Evenly distributed, you can pull out over 750 pounds, and that's bikes, that's gear, that whatever the case might be. And you sleep over top of it in our live model. But where's the key modularity come into play? Well, since we build on the Ford Transit passenger van, we are able to take our vans back up to 8 passenger seating. And that's where modularity really becomes key, because we want to give a customer the flexibility of being able to have passenger seating. We want them to be able to have the safety of factory airbags, but also we want them to be able to take those seats out, maybe keep those seats out, keep them modular, and be able to put in there a galley kitchen, be able to put in storage drawers, be able to put in sinks, water systems, full kitchen, you name it. Basically, we want to be able to plug in. And if you go to Van Do It's website, what you can see is that we offer a lot of different plug and play systems with our galley modules, is what we call them. It's a module system that ties together with different opportunities. But the whole mindset behind it is that you're not locked in to one layout. You can consistently change your layout to best fit you. We have a lot of owners who go in one season and they want to ski, and that skiing is one thing. But then if you do like another scenario where it's a completely different season, where maybe it's fishing, you can take your skis out, put other stuff in. And so, so much of what we do is around the concept of trying to keep that top of that priority list for the buyer, keeping that mindset there for them. And so when we're talking with a lot of our owners, the mindset is, we take care of the water, we take care of the power system. We're also taking care of where you can sleep. And in the photo in your bottom right-hand corner, that's our live model. That is a hydraulic queen size bed above our electrical system on the driver's side. And then the water system is not what you can see on the other side. But in the front area, that is a removable kitchen pod with a sink above, a fridge that pulls out below, and a gray water tank. Now, that is kind of actually a little bit older style kitchen that we've had around for a long time. We now offer a whole new galley array that goes from behind the driver's seat, and actually you can arrange them however you want. Um, but in like that photo, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take every customer's needs and find a way to help prioritize for them what is the next thing. Water's out of the way, power's out of the way, really sleeping is out of the way until you go to our do model, where that's completely flexible however you want and how many you want to sleep. But just like in the extra photo below, you can see that now the fridge is over to your left, kind of small there, behind some cubbies, and then you have a toilet pull out underneath the sink. And you can mix and match. You can put the cubbies below the sink. You can change it around. But we always ask our customers is what's that next priority for you? Is a toilet necessary? Because the way we look at modular is maybe on some trips you want a toilet. Maybe you're going on that trip where a toilet's needed, a toilet's necessary. But then sometimes you go on that nationwide trip where a toilet's not needed. Maybe you'll never use it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you think about it being modular, you want to make sure that the space at which you say build that toilet cubby for, can it be used for something else? Are you specializing very expensive real estate, valuable real estate in your van build for something that maybe only 50% of the time you have it in there? And that's the thing that for Van Do It, we always think about is, we want you to be able to mix and match constantly what you're putting into these builds. We want you to be able to change them out however you see fit. Well, the priority list becomes very particular to each owner. So, I mentioned toilet. Toilet can go in, toilet can go out, toilet can move. You can put it by the door and pull out in the dead space of the doorway. You can put it under your sink, where I know some people don't like to have their toilet close to where they eat, but hey, you don't have a lot of real estate in a van. You're already that close anyway. And so, there starts to become the give and takes, maybe what we call them, is the give and takes of what's necessary. What's necessary for you to take? What do you want to be the easiest thing to get to? Some people are perfectly fine with putting the toilet back under the bed area to where it is harder to get to. And in the photo, you have a gap between the two seats and the single seat, and you can shimmy back there underneath your bed area, and you're able to get comfortably in a position. Now, is it open and spacious and easy to sit down on a toilet back there? No, it's not. But is that toilet back there because that front living space is utilized for living space, say 90% of the time, and you only potentially need to utilize that toilet because maybe you're where you can't go outside. Maybe you can't go dig a hole. Maybe you can't go use the campsite bathroom. You can't use the truck stop bathroom. There's always all these scenarios where, you might not use your toilet like you think you do because you don't need to. I know a lot of people who travel never with a toilet, and that's okay. But I also know, like myself, I'm married with 3 kids, and whenever we go, we take the toilet every time. Why? Because we can put it in a location like back there in that cubby area where it's not easy to get to, and it's not taking up very expensive, valuable real estate. But we can put it in a location though where, hey, if we do need it in dire straits, maybe we're in a location where, one of our kids needs to go to the restroom. I need to go to the restroom. My wife does. We have it there, and it's almost becomes a backup because it's not a primary need. It's not one of those key things. It's not a priority for us to have a toilet super easy to access. And so, with what we do, that's a key component to, modularity in a van. We also, kind of moving off the topic of toilet, but let's talk about fridges. We use the Dometic CFX series. We do not use any of the dorm style fridges. We've tried to. We've utilized them in a couple prototype builds, but mainly, let's think about it. You're going down the road. You're traveling down the road. The van's moving. All these things are happening. And having goods inside a door on a mini fridge, they're probably going to fall over. But you're also talking about vertical storage that's a little bit harder to use. Well, a CFX fridge, which is it's more of a cooler style fridge, that everything is chest style. So it's down below. You reach down into it to get your goods out. Well, those are amazing multi-purpose type fridges. And I call it multi-purpose because, you can use it as a seat. You can use it as a step. It can be moved around because you can plug it into 12 volt or 110 componentry. And so for whatever that build is, if you're doing a, minivan build, if you're doing a truck build, if you're doing a van build, whatever you're doing, you can move it, and Dometic offers so many sizes. In the bottom right of that photo on the pullout, that is a CFX 28. So you can fit about, typically I like to tell people you can fit about 28 cans worth of anything in there. And so, that kind of gives you an idea of space. But what's amazing about them is their versatility in the idea of being modular. And so in this setup, you can see that the toilet and the fridge are two components that can be flip-flopped. Well, because they're on the exact size pullouts, they're in the exact same spaces, but they have nothing keeping them there that's custom to them. There's nothing locking them in the place that says you have to stay where you are. And so you can look at the top of it that there's a sink above the fridge. Well, maybe you're going on a long trip. Maybe you say, hey, I want to take a bigger fridge. I'm going to put it back in my seating area. Maybe I don't need the seats, and that's a lot what happens with Van Duets is maybe during the week you want to haul those 8 people. So you take what you see in this photo here, you take that out, you put the 8 seats back. But maybe on the weekend you say, hey, I'm going on a weekend trip. I'm taking my son, I'm taking my daughter, I'm taking my wife, leaving the kids at home, taking the girlfriend, or I'm just going on my own. So I'm going to take the seats out and I'm going to put my kitchen in there. I'm going to put my toilet in there just for backup. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put a bigger fridge in because I need more food. I need more space. I need those things because, maybe what I can do is in the photo you see, you have a single seat and a double seat. Well, a CFX 55 will fit perfectly in that double seat space. So maybe whenever you have it full of seats, maybe you don't have a fridge at all because your fridge is too big. Maybe you chose a bigger fridge. But what then you can do though is that you can change out that fridge for the seat space and vice versa. And so trying to set that priority of what you need to do. But in the prior photo, you could have seen that the fridge was below the sink. Well, what's cool about that is, in that scenario, maybe, you can see a little bit to the right-hand side that there's a gray tank kind of wedged in behind the driver's seat for ease. Well, maybe you don't have to worry about gray water the whole time you're on the trip. You take that fridge out, you stack that cubby full of gray water tanks. Instead of only having one there, maybe you can have 3 there. And so you just tripled your space for gray water. And that's a very key component to modularity, is making sure you take very valuable and expensive real estate and you keep it open for whatever you need that's on your priority list, whatever it is for that trip. With Van Do It, we send camper vans all over the country. We have campers in Alaska. We actually have a couple campers that have actually traveled outside the U.S. And so, it's really cool to see how people come to figure out what their priorities are actually after they take ownership of their van. And we have a service department where customers are always coming back in. And I've talked to them whenever they first leave, but they come back and their vans look completely different. They've changed the setup, they've moved stuff around. And I say, hey, I feel like maybe I failed you to a point. I feel like I almost didn't help you enough when you originally picked up. what, tell me how you got to the setup at which you got to. And the response has always been, well, Jared, no, like you gave us all the tools we needed, a little more help, a little more guidance, absolutely. But we don't know what we don't know. So having that modularity there to adapt to realizing what people wanted was super important to them. And so, I think whenever I think back to the suitcase scenario, I think back to the idea of traveling by myself. I think to the idea of just having only a carry-on bag. When I think about that, I think about, well, here's all I can fit. I can only fit so much in this, so I'm having to really pick and choose. But anytime, my wife and I travel, we share just a check bag and we get 52 pounds. Well, now it feels like a luxury because we have so much extra space. We have all this stuff. But what's amazing is we always end up tapping it out. We always end up needing to pull that extra 1 pound so we don't get the $100 fee, and that's the whole thing that kind of circles you back to, van life. We circles it back to, truck builds, whatever you're building, van dudes included. You only have so much space. You don't have a big house with a massive, basement with all this extra storage space where you just say, hey, I don't know if I need it, but I just want to keep it because I have space. That's not what we have in the van life world. Every little inch is extremely important, and vertical space is crucial. And so defining what your priorities are big. One thing that I can touch on here for a little bit is, it's always been a massive discussion around Van Do It. It's been a massive discussion with customers reaching out to us, and something we have yet to release. We have been in the works for years on the idea. We just will not release a design that's, causes a lot of potential headache. We want to remove headache and stress from builds. And one of those things is an inside shower. Inside showers require water. Inside showers require a lot of aspects to a van build to make sure, lines don't freeze, making sure that they're, have the ability of being removed, mildew, just whatever the case might be. There's a lot of things that come with having an inside shower and real estate, the best ways to do it. There are some amazing ways to do inside showers. I love seeing the DIY ways of doing things. I love seeing the particular ways of doing them. But whenever I start working with clients who really have to have that inside shower, I take them through the same thing. I take them through, what's your priorities? Because, you can go to an Anytime Fitness, get a membership and take a shower. You can go to Planet Fitness, take a shower. You can do those things, or you can do what we do. We have a shower that goes off the back door, so you can shower outside when capable. We also offer what's called the Ever Shower. It's designed and built out of Australia. We're the U.S. distributor for it, and it recirculates the same water, so you do have a basin. It really helps with water control and water usage, but that can be used inside the van and high roofs and outside the van. And so I always try to figure out, why is a shower so high on your priority list? And generally speaking, it's because it's what they believe is the norm. We have a lot of buyers for Van Do It who come from RVs. They've already been with something larger. They want to downsize, or they're just getting into the van life idea and concept, but they looked at, particularly your typical RV style builds that weren't that, that compact size, and to where you had the real estate for a shower. Well, as we all know, in a van build, you don't have a lot of that extra real estate to really close off space necessarily, unless it's right for you. DIY builds, it's do it yourself. It means it's really probably for you. It's for yourself. Me particularly, if I was building a van specifically for me, for my needs, I think I would figure out a way to have a shower probably in there somewhere, but I'd be doing it for myself. I wouldn't be doing it to try to take care of the majority. And I wouldn't be trying to do it to make sure it was stress-free for someone else. Like I mentioned, I was the original designer behind a Van Do It. So I would see it fun to me to figure out how to accomplish doing an inside shower. But I already know from remodeling homes, remodeling bathrooms, that's not a great thing to figure out. I don't want to have to worry about water leaking under my floor. I don't want to have to worry about the winterizing. I would do it if it was my own, but I'm not going to do it for my customers until we can find a way to where that stress and that worry and that concern is removed. But I always really break down, though, for customers is how important is an inside shower for you, because it can really diversify what you're looking for in modularity. Because showers can be modular, they are a great fit in that mold. And we are currently working on a design that I believe will give full modularity to an indoor shower, hopefully in the year 2023. And it is going to be available to all current Van Duit owners out there. It'll actually fit into their galley kitchens, the pullouts, the toilet pullout, and the fridge pullout that which you saw. It is going to be something along those lines. But I think it's one of those things that until we can make sure that it's just stress free for the customer, we're not going to do it. But until then, I ask them the question of having an inside structured shower, how important that is that. And almost 9 times out of 10, it's not as high of a priority to them as something else. There's always something else that's a higher priority. A larger cooking space, that's higher priority. If it's skiing, if it's biking, if it's cycling, if whatever the case might be, fishing, anything like that, usually those features take over the space of wanting something fixed inside to take up valuable real estate. And for Van Duit owners, it's the seating, having that capability of having that extra seating back in your vehicle. That's a really big one. And having to worry about, did I retighten the water lines properly? Did I get everything right and back to it? Utilizing that real estate, that valuable, expensive real estate for something like a shower becomes a really big topic. And so those are the things that we always take through with our customers. And as a DIYer, you have to ask yourself, if I want to be able to plug and play and utilize one space for something else, what am I willing to give up? And what am I willing to gain? Offices, office space, mobile office. I'm talking on that tomorrow about what you really need and how you need to look at it from being able to be successful in a camper van. Maybe you can't do the full open L desk, 5 screens array. But let me ask you, if your office was smaller at home or at work, do you really need that many screens? Or have it just become your creature comforts? Has it just become what you're used to? And can you reprioritize what you're looking for to be able to always be successful for any adventure you want to go on? And that could be going to the grocery store, that could be going out to the mountains, or that could just be saying, hey, you know what? I'm taking a 3-month trip and I'm taking my dog with me and I'm not coming back. What is the priorities which you want to take? And you just got to ask yourself, when I'm packing that suitcase, what do I know I need to take? Do I need 3 sweatshirts, or should I take one? Because I also need to be concerned about warm weather too. And so that's, when it comes down to modularity, it really boils down to what's your priority, what's your need, and then making sure you utilize that real estate to make sure you don't fix something in a spot that it can't be used for something else. Because if you don't start with the right foundation, you're going to end up rebuilding it. You're going to end up cutting it out. You're going to end up, being frustrated that you have this spot and it was a great idea, but it doesn't work out, and I will tell you, I have failed an unreal amount of times. Anyone who's been a builder, any of you who have done DIY builds, any of you have built, vans for van companies, you're not going to get it right the first time. And so that's where for Van Duit, we love the concept of modularity, because it allows us to continually offer, features and options when it makes sense after we've R&D tested it, once we've truly vetted it, and then it can go out to our 700 plus vans that are out on the road. And so I definitely appreciate you guys listening to me, kind of my spiel. And so I've got here, looks like about 10 minutes remaining. And so if we have any questions, I'll absolutely, we can talk about kind of some questions here. Let's see. Could you please talk about how the components are secured in the van in the case of, for example, a rough road, maneuvers, or crash? So, a lot of our componentry that we tie in, like our galley kitchens, of which we showed, what those are anchored in two fashions. They are anchored in whenever you strap down. We use straps that actually, once they lock tight and they shift a little bit looser, they actually self tighten back down. And what we do is we do 2 points of contact. So we'll contact back, basically straight across, and then we'll contact down. So we create that triangle effect to where, in the case of a rollover, in the case of a crash or a rough road, basically it's being housed back down into itself to where, that module is not going to move side to side or flip. Now, thinking about it in a little bit more extreme effects, rough roads, things like that. That is why in van duo builds, you're not going to find screws anywhere. We do not screw anything. We do not use wood anywhere. We don't use anything that requires a thread to actually be what holds something in. Everything is bolted in, screwed in. It's serrated nut, nylon nut. The lowest grade material we use is stainless steel 316. On a lot of our higher gauge stuff, we use zinc plated, just because of the raw strength of not having soft stainless. But that's really, in a lot of cases, what we're able to do is the structures at which we start with. That foundation is so critical. And that's why I come back to that. And I think it's a great question because the foundation you start with is where this whole thing starts. You can strap whatever you want to the foundation, but if the foundation moves, well, what good was your strapping abilities? And so we do use straps for a lot of things because there's give and take with them. If something shifts, it's actually still holding it. What I tell my engineers all the time is don't design something to snap, design it to bend. Because if you can design it to bend, well, then it actually is still held in place. You don't want it to snap. As anyone who's had a camper van, anything like that, you just got to be careful, because if it snaps, you get to your destination, you can't strap it back down, you can't move it. But if it bends, at least it's still there for your adventure and it's safe. But we do use straps. And in a lot of cases, like in our dual module setup, we also use metal brackets that actually bracket back into the aluminum extrusion at which we use. And so they are fixed with hardware. A lot of times it's just an Allen key that you have to remove it. And so it's two different scenarios we use. Almost 90% of the time, we are utilizing both. One reason is because whenever you use straps, vibration can happen, noise can happen. Bolting something down gives you a lot stronger contact point to remove that vibration, remove those things. And so we do use 2 points of contact. One is strapping and more of a triangle effect down and back into our foundation. And then the other one is bolting in the same fashion down and back to give you that strength of that triangle. And so I guess kind of let's see here. Sounds like a great concept for some people. Have you built any modular vans for a full timing boondocker? We have. We absolutely have. I would say probably roughly about 10% of our vans that go out are people who never hit a standard campsite, never hit a plug-in, never do anything like that. So where we start with is we really start with the abilities of offering them ample power needs. We go anywhere from an AGM system, that's 300 amp hours, all the way up to our latest system is 1600 amp hours of master volt lithium power that is backed by a solar system that gives you 800 watts on the roof and also gives you another expandability of 1600 watts on the ground. And so we give you ample storage, I think is the best way I put it, is whenever we're trying to measure out the pros and cons of space. And that kind of comes back to the priority. How much space do you want to take up with your batteries? And how much space you want to take up with water? And so, we give ample addition of water as well to boondockers. We give them the ability of adding as much freshwater tanks as they want. particularly on the gear slide. You can refill them how you want, use water refill stations to get that fresh water. We have some owners who will carry up to 40, 50 gallons. That's removable. Sometimes they take a trip and they only want 20 gallons. That's great. Take only that much capacity space. It's not so much about having the 40 or 50 gallon tank, because if you have a 40-gallon tank, well, you might as well just take 40 gallons with you. Well, what we offer is the ability of add-on jugs. You just keep adding your capacity to where you're not taking up that valuable real estate when you're boondocking. If you're boondocking where it makes perfect sense for you, but you're down by a freshwater creek and you can use a blue light and drink that water, or boil it, only take maybe 5-gallon, 10-gallon worth of freshwater storage. Maybe you don't have to worry about any gray water. Maybe you're able to dispose of that where you are. Who knows? I don't know where you're at. But what Van Do It does with modularity is we match your need, and you can personally match your need to what you're looking for. And so if you need more power, we can offer that. If you want more water storage, we can offer that. But we really don't, and kind of a crazy saying is, don't put baby in the corner. Well, that's what we don't want to do with builds. And that's why we always want to build on the idea of modular, to where one trip you need 50 gallon. Next trip, you only need what's included. Sometimes you don't need a lot of power. Sometimes you need a lot. Sleeping space. Sometimes you need sleep 6. Sometimes you only need sleep 2. Allow your build to move with those needs. Some people's needs never change, and that's perfectly okay. And honestly, if that's the way the world worked, I'd love it. I would love the ability of not needing to worry about taking care of people's multiple needs. But we all have a ton going on. We all have so many different, things going on, really in the world. And, for myself, 3 kids. I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and the need of car seats, the need of dance practice, the need of soccer practice, Strider bikes for when we go to Bentonville, Arkansas, my needs, myself, even being someone who helps go get materials for the workers at the shop. I use my Van Do It every day for a different need every day. And being modular gives me that ability. It gives me the ability of taking the seats out, taking the car seats out, loading it with plywood. And that'll be something I do later today. I'm going to use my Van Do It to take it to and get, all the trash out of my garage, and take care of that. And so there's all these different needs. And so, last question, are you building on the Ford E-Transit electric van? Currently the E-Transit is one that we've been eyeing for quite a while. Something that I will kind of, if you guys didn't know, it's not necessarily, it is public. We've made it public, but we will be kind of venturing down it further. But we did do the first transit trail build on the new Ford Transit Trail, and we worked in partnership with Ford on that. But we are also looking to venture into the E-Transit as well, kind of as our next project on that front, and looking at trying to determine, what works best for the transit trail, what works best, the E-Transit. And so currently we do not have any offerings on it. I wish to, I'd love to. But right now with the E-Transit, with the power grid, with the ability of having connection points and its travel and payload, right now the E-Transit is not necessarily a vehicle that gives what I believe the industry what it's needed. I think it will be there in time. I do believe personally that electric is the future. It only makes sense. But I think there's a lot of things that have to happen for it to become ability to where, you can take a Ford E-Transit and take it to the top of a mountain. It works amazing for local pickup and delivery here in Kansas City, Missouri. It's amazing for that. But needing to hit the road, go travel for, 1,200 miles, 1,500 miles, whatever the case might be, 100 and 150 round trip doesn't really give you that ability getting there. So Van Do It is working on it, along with, our future products that we're releasing with the new Ford Transit Trail. We're very excited about that. We're also excited about 2 new models we're going to be releasing probably here later 2023. with some new power options. And so, definitely look us up. Always keep in touch. Follow us on Instagram. Reach out to me personally if you have any questions. You can find my information on the website. And so, looking forward to talking with you guys tomorrow about mobile office. Take care. Thank you.